Hello, everybody. Not sure if you can hear me yet or what the delay's like, but here we are. We are having a Facebook Live, another random Q&A. Totally random. I didn't plan for this at all. So if anyone wants to ask a question, feel free to pop it in the chat there. Or if you want to have a comment or just have a chat and say, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm just hanging out. Looks like some people are tuning in now. Hey, Ayana. Glad you can hear me. Nice to see you. Hope the move's doing, the planning for the moving and everything is okay. I hate moving. So blessed you. It's tough. Ugh. Hey, Josh, how you going, man? I see your content on Instagram. Uh, Keep it up. Takes a lot of work to keep doing it. You got this, brother. Yeah, I've been working on just setting up the how the podcast is gonna look. Right now, I'm still not happy with that little corner over there, the other spot where we have another computer, but that might just be the nature of it. Won't matter too much. It's only a podcast. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that this background's okay? Or do you think I should bring out the old green screen and stand in front of the mighty oak tree like we did for the beta course? And I guess the other Mineral Minded podcast as well. Hello, everyone. The background is not important. David, I agree. I really don't think it matters too much. I think the most important thing really is if it's a podcast, the sound is pretty good. And I mean, not many people. Well, maybe you guys can let me know in the chat. Do you guys like watch podcasts on YouTube, or do you care what it looks like? Really? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, David. It helps with the feedback, though. We never know until somebody tells us. I've been having a lot of issues lately with calcium supplements. Now that I see David and his post he put up on Facebook the other day, a lot of them have been sold out. But I can say that Doctor's Best now has a bone maker that's in stock. If anybody's still looking for a product close to maybe a Yarrow Bone Up or similar product, there's now one available. Every time a product goes out of stock, it slows down how quickly we put together a supplement recommendation because we have to make adjustments on a couple of different levels to make sure everything is okay. Uh, and when you can't get hydroxyapatite, then we have to, I would say, downgrade a program to the old way, which would be like using a calcium citrate or malate or something like this. Not always fun, but as soon as that product comes back in stock, yeah, we can always swap it back. Iron patches. Uh, have I heard of iron patches? Not really. I mean, I theoretically, yes. I haven't seen them in the wild, so to speak. I haven't seen people wearing them that I know of. You learned something about those, David? Do you find they work or? always been a little skeptical of some of the patches to get nutrients. And we have had some people wanting to do like a moisturizer that they can get their minerals from instead of swallowing the supplements. And I just don't have the experience to really say it can be done yet. Iron, I'm sure it can come in through the skin, but part of me just really thinks it's not the best way of getting it in, like, for absorption. Sure. Patch MD. Let's check this out. I'll open it up. I don't think I can share my screen. Maybe I'll figure it out how to do that eventually. We share a screen and do some reaction content to some weird supplements or something one day. Maybe it'll be a YouTube video or something. We'll find something. All right, reasonably priced. Iron plus topical patch. Iron patches for anemia. Never heard of this before. Gradual absorption makes sense. Comes through the skin. No sugar, calories, just what I like on my patches, and avoids gastrointestinal tract. That would be a major advantage, absolutely. Uh, Looks like it also contains some vitamin A and some astaxanthin. Not entirely sure why the astaxanthin would be in there, but yeah, it's okay price for even including astaxanthin in there. It's $20, 20 American dollars, so it's still $30 Australian, but it's not bad for a supplement. Do you have any experience with this one, David? Or I've never used it, so. Oh. Transdermal iron patches, athletes with suboptimal iron status. Okay. Obviously, I won't be able to read this whole paper right now, but I'm just going to jump down to the too long didn't read section, the conclusion, where most people misinterpret the whole study. So I'm going to do that. Their VO2 max, looks like there was an improvement there. Cool. Yeah, I'm not really sure, honestly. It would be interesting to see more research on it and see if it's better than, say, using lactoferrin or heme iron, or even comparing some of these less common iron supplementation, especially in specific individuals. Like, um, someone suggested to me the study is rather negative. I was going to say, it did say that they found no improvement on there, but there was small amounts in other areas. Uh, rather negative. Well, it doesn't mean it's negative just because the conclusion is down, David. But yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I think my preferred method of transdermal iron is probably having like an iron sword or dagger or something and just swinging it around for like an hour each day. I think that would be like the coolest way of getting your iron supplementation. But I mean, if a little patch on there is great, maybe you feel good with the college buddies or something with the nicotine patch. I'm only joking, obviously, but yeah, I mean, maybe it could be beneficial. Not sure. Hey, Susanna. Steve, you said, are you still working on developing a course for healthcare practitioners for reading hair mineral analysis charts? Boy, if I had the time and the resources right now to do it, yeah, it would be done tomorrow. The thing is, we have a lot of information that we've put together and a lot of, really cool resources and handouts, but to re-record everything and get it to the level we think is needed, it's just, we're just not ready for that right now. So yeah, we do, but honestly, the best way, if you really want to know my perspective on something or what supplement to use, in all honesty, it's probably best just working with us for now. And you still learn a lot. I mean, I don't hold back in the consults unless you want me to. Yeah, David's saying part of the oral supplementation with iron is serious gut upset. Yeah, that's probably the biggest side effect of iron supplementation. I haven't found it to be the biggest issue with the heme iron products or the lactoferrin so much, but it is a serious problem with not only iron. Copper can also cause a lot of nausea, and zinc as well. Manganese too. All of them really at higher doses can cause problems. It's just iron supplementation, especially for like I guess iron deficiencies seen severe by medical doctors might end up on like 100 milligrams of it. Um, Taking that kind of dose might be a bit, yeah, it's going to make you feel not happy. Make you feel pretty gross. uh whether honestly, Dave, I'd like to see if it's more effective than say like maltofer or something, one of those like syrup iron supplements. See if it's more effective than that, because that's the standard, and unless we can shift what the medical doctor is doing, then I mean, it's great to have other options, but the medical industry is the one that primarily deals with iron deficiency in a larger population than us practitioners. When I think about infusions or intramuscular injections, I'm a bit biased here. I don't really like excessive iron. Personally, I don't like using supplements, so I think I'm gonna just segue past it, because if I can avoid it with the client or even with anyone else, I would rather not doing it. Especially if it comes down to like a IV or something, I'm not really into that. Mm. But yeah, Steve, just your question on the course, I'm totally like would like to have it out. It's just we're not ready yet. We have a lot of moving parts with it. So thanks for holding tight. And I think we made a mistake by letting people know that we were working on this way too soon. It's something that I've learned about going forward. Not to mention things too far ahead of when you're nearly completed. Zana, hi John. I'm starting to work with bitters. Some say to take them before a meal, some say after. Doesn't matter. My personal experience, before the meal's the best. Nothing like having uh, some Swedish bitters or something before a meal to get the digestive tract going, get the get your body ready for food. But I don't think it matters too much if you were to take it later or after, 20 minutes after. I don't think it'll make the biggest difference. I've kind of been known to even have bitters while fasting, just because, well, it seems to be helpful as well when maybe not fasting, but maybe on an empty stomach. I've had bitters as well. It can have a benefit, especially if you're working on some liver stuff that maybe some fasting may benefit from, like intermittent fasting at least. Steve asked about talk about post COVID or long COVID patterns that you have seen. Honestly, I haven't seen much different than what we're used to seeing. If that makes sense. We see a lot of slow oxidizers. I wouldn't say about 80% like what Dr. Malter says or what um, Dr. Watts implies, or even ARL. They all kind of sit around 80% of people about slow oxidizers. I haven't seen any like that being 85 or 90 now because of post COVID or anything like that, or a viral condition. So I haven't seen any major changes like that. Patterns, not really sure, to be honest. As far as post COVID, it's hard to tell. A lot of people would have the patterns regardless of if they had COVID or not. So can't really say definitively. Um, we still have like our favorite products to use for a post-COVID like syndrome. There's a lot of research on the internet, I guess, about it now. It's becoming more popular, but we like using an IgY product, an immunoglobulin Y product like IgY Max works great for post-COVID syndromes, especially as a binder to the spike proteins. That seems to be. I was doing it during COVID, and then the research came in 2021 or 2022 that it binds to the spike protein and whatnot. We were using it before anyway. I just happened to stumble upon a wonderful book on it while I was reading. Yeah, I can say that like a lot of people that are still struggling with COVID, usually it was because they didn't have the best selenium status at a time. At least that's one thing I've noticed. Whether or not something that'll remain relevant. But we see, as I said before, we still see a lot of low selenium in a lot of people we test, especially if they haven't been supplementing or been on a program for a little while. There's a almost everyone nowadays that we test their first hair test low selenium, even if they're getting Brazil nuts. Yeah, it's still low. Eat more almond butter. What about us that don't eat almond butter, Steve? No options. Almond butter, I've never been a real big fan of it. I had it a lot when I was a vegetarian. Um, the furthest I go nowadays when it comes to almonds is having one for each eye. So we have maybe three salted almonds in the morning, soaked almonds in salt water, and then pop the skin off and then eat the delicious chewy fruit in there. Whatever, not fruit, but it tastes different once it's soaked. It's mushy. Reminds you of like the fresh nuts. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. One of the things I think is really interesting, and I've yet to try it. I really, really want to try it, and I'm gonna get some. Is the new boron product that Global Healing I think is using. They're the ones I think it's Dr. Group. Um, well, they have a new boron product I've kind of wanted to check out, and they did it. It says it was inspired by Dr. Richard Olry, who's a friend of mine. So um, I gotta do two things coming up on the to-do list is to talk to Dr. Olry and get the inside perspectives on this product, and then I need to consume quantities of it to see what happens. So I'll put that product in the list here. Obviously, I'm not sponsored or anything. He's just a friend of mine, and it's something I want to check out myself. So many people might know that we use a lot of boron, and we do have a preference for borax as a supplement for most people because of the cost. But we can find a reason to use a different product. Certainly, we'd consider it. But for right now, we're pretty happy with just the boron concentrate that's listed on our website. But yeah, I want to try this one. Dr. Ulrey and I have been a big fan of calcium fructoborate for a little while. Kind of curious on why it's liquid. It's microsomal. I imagine it means that maybe it's liposomal in some way. Honestly, not sure. Do you guys know what microsomal means? I know that I can imagine what the words mean, but hey, Colleen, how you doing? The boron conspiracy is real then. What, you mean that Walter Last article that happened, the renowned Australian? Um, I mean, I use boron a lot, whether or not its dose is as high as Walter Last, I think his name was, used. I've taken personally high dose boron. I took, oh, what was it? I took 1 gram of boron, which I think comes out to about 100 milligrams of 1 gram of borax. I think is about 100 milligrams of boron. Did that for a little while. Um, you could really notice at high doses like that a little bit of stomach irritation and some fatigue. It's a very light fatigue. It's not like when you high dose zinc or high dose calcium or something. It's subtle, but it just seems to hit you in that right spot. It feels like you got up a little too early. One of those ones where it's just like a haze of fatigue kind of lingering. Susanna says she could never remember the liquid, so she's been taking the life extension boron products. Yeah, I mean, the way that most supplements work is those chelated products are higher absorption than those salt products that we find. So product like life extension, or you'll find like three or four different types of boron put together. Those are going to be a lot better absorbed than the concentrate that Iona put in the chat here that we use. But as far as cost to benefit, I mean, if you can put up with it being a liquid, and that is a compliance thing, and the cost is about pretty good for most people. With the borax, we do prefer it for that reason. Um, but honestly, Susanna, if you're using boron product from Life Extension, that would be fine. Or even a calcium fructoborate as well can be pretty good. You can get one. I forget the company name on iHerb, but they have it. But it's again, it pulls up the price a bit more the more better forms you get. I suppose it depends really why you're using boron and if it's necessary to really give a real potent product, or if you're using it as like a synergist in the mineral program. There can be different reasons to use boron. I haven't really found like Jorge Fletches, if anyone knows of his work, he talks about taking doses of like 150 milligrams of boron for osteoporosis. And I haven't found doses like that to really be meaningful. Um, Maybe if anyone else has experience with it. Susanna says we were doing a loading dose. Yeah, that's perfect for a loading dose. There's no better way of building up tissue level than using a better absorbable product. Um, Might not take a month or so, like what we wrote with the borax there, but in general, the borax is very safe, even at high doses. So that's why I was taking 100 milligrams, just because it's very safe. You just might have some side effects. Yeah. Oh boy. Hmm. Been playing around with algotene lately. Just that red spirulina, not red spirulina, but a red algae from Interclinical. I really like that product. I just wish it wasn't so expensive for most people. Really, really good. I think it does wonder for skin health, and especially the fast oxidizer with a low NAK ratio seems to do pretty good with it, because it's got these really effective absorption rates for vitamin C and vitamin E, to some degree vitamin A and its analogs. So it can be really helpful for playing around with the sodium potassium levels on the hair test there. Yeah. Hmm. I think I lost my video for a minute. I pushed a button. Maybe I'm still here. Who knows? I am here. Just let me know. Yeah, you can still see me. Yeah, so the other thing we really, thank you. Have I officially completed my PhD? No. I have, um, I'm considered technically a PhD candidate, meaning I have finished all of the work. I just haven't actually done the actual dissertation paper. So what is involved in that is some sort of study, and then I just haven't done that part. And so when we do that, rest assured, there's going to be a wonderful little notification in the Balancing Friends group here when we're going to be looking for people to include in that study. But until we get there, it's on the back burner. I put it on the back burner because I need to finish a lot of other projects first, Steve. I got to finish our own course. We have a lot of people that are constantly asking about it and reaching out to us. And I figure we should finish that project and then I'll go and complete my PhD because it's more of just a thing just so I can go do it because I enjoy hair analysis and mineral balancing research and I kind of want to take it further with the dissertation. It's not really necessary anything to practice, so it's just on the bucket list for me. Carrie, and John, can you talk a bit about copper detox and Wilson's, and if you have clients with Wilson's that benefit from an HTMA? I can say I haven't actually worked with someone with Wilson's disease, so I can't comment on that. My understanding from the research that I've read is that the people with Wilson's disease usually have a very low copper status on a hair test. So it's hard to, it wouldn't be something you would obviously notice when you do a hair test with someone unless they already knew they had Wilson's. So it does potentially become an area of, it could become an issue if someone did have Wilson's and we were to recommend copper, like that can be a problem. But most times, by the time they're working with someone, they would have already found out they had Wilson's for various reasons. You know, they may have cooked with copper or had a multivitamin or some other reason that already created a situation they knew they had Wilson's. It's something you find out when you're 35 years old and you got chronic fatigue. I mean, I'm sure it can happen, but it's not very common in my experience. So I don't have much about that. So copper detox in Wilson's. Yeah, I don't have a big experience with Wilson's, so I can't really comment too much on it. I'm sorry, Kiri. Do people improve neuro symptoms and get well? Do you mean is that with Wilson's disease? Because we certainly see neurological health improve. I was a good example myself where I had some damage from my spinal injury. My leg, my sciatic nerve wasn't working that great. And I had a lot of neuropathy, pins and needles, doesn't really work, wasn't working properly. I basically had one leg like a horse and the other leg like I don't know what it was. It was just like a limb that I could flail about and pull around. Uh, so, yeah, neurological symptoms certainly can improve. It does take a lot of work, and it's very important to be mindful about the fats. And it looks like June just brought that into the PUFAs here. Um, it's hard to have a good neurological function if fats that are in the neurological system are not solid when they need to be solid and aren't liquid when they need to be liquid. And that sounds weird, and you might go, well, John, I'm solid. Obviously, I don't, my nervous system doesn't go liquid. But it does, and it reactions to things called solitons. And the change between a solid fat to a liquid fat is something found throughout mammals. And when you have a mammal that consumes excessive amounts of PUFAs, we find that it causes a lot of neurological issues because the signals aren't transmitted properly because these these sound waves that work through the nervous system don't work right when it's a liquid. It needs to interact with the solid or change it to a liquid as needed. So I think I wrote a little bit about that in the group here. Maybe if you look up solitons, you might find it. But yeah, you definitely need to get on top of those oils if you're going to work on your neurological health or see any improvements there. And I did that totally backwards. When I had my back injury, I tried fish oil. It wasn't something I normally had before until I thought fish oil was good for me because everyone kept telling me it would help, and it didn't really help. And a PUFA, for those that don't know, is a polyunsaturated fatty acid. It's a liquid fat at room temperature. So, if it's out on your counter and it's a liquid, it's probably a PUFA. If it's olive oil, it's To be fair, it's probably not even real olive oil. It could just be a PUFA in an olive oil bottle. But true olive oil becomes solid when you put it in the fridge, and you can see the solids in there, and that's because that has MUFAs in it, monounsaturated fatty acids, and they go, well, they're not liquid when they get cold. So, yeah. Are PUFAs a problem for the thyroid? Ray Pete says. I believe so. I don't really think that they're beneficial, mostly because just inflammation responses from consuming them. Uh, I do think that they maybe can be used in a way that can be beneficial, but whether or not it's beneficial in a temporary round is different than if it's something you would do long term. I know, like Dr. Wilson, for example, uses a lot of PUFAs, I guess we can say, and even omega 6, right, with the almond butter. And he suggests that they're beneficial for the cell membrane. Personally, I don't consume those, and I think my skin's okay. I mean, I don't have an Instagram filter or anything on this. This is just, I don't even know how to work this software. Um, I don't think it's necessary, at least in my example of myself. And I haven't had PUFAs in a long time. We don't go out of our way to get them in any way. We actually try and deprive ourselves of them. So, and I can say my thyroid is pretty good. My blood's come back. TSH currently at 1.5 for those that can judge me about that later and say it's not completely perfect, John. That's pretty good. Hi, Dada. We see you. Oh, hi, baby. Hello, little fern. Hi, Mama. Yeah, I think poop is a real problem personally. What I don't think is an issue is omega 6 as much. And so maybe there's benefits with certain, you know, oils, I guess, but not so much the omega 3s. Carrie says 1.5 is pretty good, I'd say. Yeah, well, it's not just about one marker either. You want to make sure the liver's okay. You want to make sure that, prolactin's not too high. You want to make sure that there's not other issues as well. You don't want to just, hey, my TSH is fine, therefore everything else is good. Am I familiar with Chris Masterjohn's perspective on vitamins and minerals? I mean, I follow him. I can't actually say I listen to a lot of his content. Not because I don't like him or anything or his work. I just, I don't really look at a lot of influencers' work, honestly. Like, I guess I'm just so used to people just putting up posts and then teasing you and then getting you to buy their product or something that I just don't even invest time into it. But I have heard some really cool things from him before, for example, of talking about selenium deficiency. And I think it was in the Wendy Myers podcast. I thought he had a really good um, logic behind why eating close to home and organic, food market food, I guess, locally grown, why that might not always be great for your minerals. And I thought that was a really good inner perspective. And he basically put forth this idea that if it's not in the soil, it's not going to be in the food. And it was something we always knew, but it was like, hey, sometimes, especially if you live in a country like Australia, like I do, and you go and get some local food from the market, well, that food might not be the highest in selenium compared to an imported product. Right. So I thought that perspective was really cool, but I'm not really sure overall what it is. I know he's been working on a handbook for vitamins and minerals for a while. Maybe it's done now. What is his perspective, Steve? I don't know. I know he's into nutrition, so surely he believes in the efficacy of vitamins and minerals. uh, Sunflower lecithin, good or bad, it's a PUFA. Yeah, it is a PUFA, but that was one of those things where I said sometimes they can be beneficial, but it might not be something that's great long term. So we use it primarily either as slowing down a copper dump or helping someone when they're going through some heavy metal eliminations to help slow them down, because we find it slows down the metabolic rate, very much like a PUFA, uh, almost like it is one. And so, yeah, I mean, it has benefits. It's not something we like to use long term. Sometimes we'll hop on and hop off it on a program. We use it intermediary, but not a lot. Master John doesn't really support HTMA. He's a blood guy, though, isn't he? Like, he studies blood. So maybe he knows what he knows. He knows a lot about blood nutrients, right? Sunflower lecithin is the thing that I've written an article about it. Just have never posted it on our website. I wasn't sure if I was going to ever or not. It's certainly a really cool product. There's a lot of debate in the HTMA world. Dr. Wilson says, "Oh no, it doesn't slow down the oxidation rate or anything." And then, I mean, the GOAT, the one and only Dr. Paul Eck, says otherwise. Saying that kind of tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but we do need to consider the perspective differences there, especially if you start to bring in the PUFA stuff that everyone's discussing here. What's my favorite product at the moment? What's my favorite product for what? There's so many different things. I guess I would say my current favorite product for myself. Yeah, for myself, my latest thing. Honestly, it's this product here. I'll show you. This is, again, I feel like I'm showing products every time I do these. But it's this product here, however long it takes for it to finally show up. It's Integra Nutrition Gene Active Formulation D. Really like it personally, mostly because it contains some sulphorophane through broccoli sprouts, which I'm a big fan of broccoli sprouts and their use to activate the genes required to detox. It's like we give the vitamins and minerals to allow the genes to work and do the dues, right? Because genes don't do anything unless there's a signal, a vitamin or mineral or electromagnetic frequency or something to get it to work. And then you would then make sure that you have something that makes sure those genes are even activated. And so you would use broccoli to do that. So it's the 1-2 punch, the making sure you have good selenium levels and you stay on top of zinc, copper, vitamin C, and then you top it up with something to activate the genes. Colleen asks, she's my mother-in-law. She's this is a prescription product in Australia. So if you did want some, I'll get you a bottle. It's pretty good. Some people do have digestive issues with them because of the broccoli sprouts. It seems to cause some digestive discomfort. Oh, that's fun. I just got copyrighted. Isn't that great? Yeah, here's the hot takes then, because this is not going to be available to the public anyway, because we just got hit with copyright for some reason. Um, Weird. Cool. So yeah, it can cause some digestive issues though. Sulforaphane is known to block some enzymes needed by some pathogenic bacteria in the gut, and so one of the most common symptoms we get is diarrhea. Um, like it's weird to get hit with a copyright when you show a product. That's a new blow. Um, can't show a product. You can only sell them through Facebook ads. Uh, so we have some issues with sulforaphane on the gut. But when you go in slowly, it seems to work good. And then this product also contains some superoxide dismutase, which We do prefer when the body makes it itself, but this seems to be very beneficial. And I take this GFD product by Integrata Nutritionals when I'm fasting mostly. So it has really low grade B vitamins, and it's more of something you would take in between meals. So to those that we have recommended that to them and they take it during a meal, that's fine as well. But you might get a bit more bang for the dollar if you can take it a little bit away from the food sometimes, at least. Um, Restless leg syndrome. Be careful. Electrolyte imbalances. That's probably a really big one. And then there is a connection with heavy metals. Like there's something like Saint Vitus's dance, and I've only ever seen someone in public with this once, but it certainly is a heavy metal related condition that causes muscle contractions and neurological issues that are unconscious, causes them to sort of flail about and dance. It looks like they're dancing when they're walking. Google it, it's pretty interesting to see. It's more an advanced restless leg syndrome. Chris was vegan, and his health went south, started to eat meat, or I guess that's Weston A. Price. I think that's the spelling error. He's a PhD now, produces really academic papers. They're a bit hard for laymen to get their head around. Uh, yeah, and yeah, Chris is cool. I think that it's great to know the science and like the genes and all these other stuff that we talk about, but I think it's more important to be like Elmer Fudd and just like keep it simple and practical and how it affects and how to apply it in real life. I think that's something that's a little bit better than throwing around gene names and knowing biochemical pathways, but maybe it's because I'm not that smart, so I'm biased. uh, does sulphorophane negatively impact the thyroid? As far, am I still streaming or am I get kicked off? It says gone now. Anyway, as far as sulforaphane and negative impacts of thyroid, you can have some detoxification related stuff with sulforaphane. Obviously, that can negatively impact the thyroid. For example, the mobilization of, thanks for everyone saying I'm still here. Now that they told me they're going to not even show this to the public, who knows? But if you're going to do sulforaphane, you can get some negative effects on the thyroid because it can mobilize some metals because of the activation of those genes, assuming the nutrients are there to get the job done. You can say if mercury mobilizes, it can lower thyroid function, but it doesn't lower thyroid function by using broccoli sprouts because of goitrogens. So it's just something else. It works through a different way, but yeah. So it certainly can. Sulforaphane negatively impacts thyroid. Yes, not directly, indirectly, usually through reasons why you're supplementing it. Saw an article about iron deficiency and restless leg syndrome. Honestly, like I had a childhood friend with restless leg syndrome and definitely had very severe ADHD, probably would have been on some sort of spectrum these days. He had terrible restless leg syndrome or like needed to move all of the time. And he had like probably the worst diet I've ever seen in my life. Is basically just ate out every meal. So whether or not it's iron deficiency or multiple deficiencies, I think might play a role. Obviously, that's one person, and there's many factors. But I spent a lot of time. He was my best friend in elementary school, so I, uh, I know what he ate, and I experienced it with you know the time I spent with him. What I think of stem cell packages, honestly, because thank you, Anita, but I think we're already past the copyright now. I didn't know you can't show images of something you use yourself. That's stupid. Anyway, stem cell patches, it's not something I'm into. I don't really put a lot of weight into the so-called science behind them. Real stem cells, sure. Frequency-based ones, there's other ways of getting frequencies that don't require you to buy patches. There's light, there's sound healing, there's other ways of doing it. So if they also promoted that you can do it outside of getting their patches with other methods, then maybe I'd put a bit more weight behind them. But currently, no. There's some insight maybe in the copper GHK people talk about with the stem cell patches that you're talking about there, Anita. Honestly, I'm more interested in actually just using copper GHK, that copper peptide, rather than a frequency to activate it in the body. I want to use what I'm trying to do and not hope it works. But yeah, that's my thought. Um, Fibromyalgia causes is it's really complex. Fibromyalgia, to be honest, a lot of people just see it as an overdiagnosed condition that is not really helpful. Usually, there's other health conditions that are considered comorbidities with fibromyalgia, and my understanding is that there's no way you can just treat fibromyalgia because it's so vague and non precise on how it affects someone. You're better off just looking at other biochemical reasons that might be going on and working from there. And a common one with fibromyalgia, whether or not it's because of the research that's been done on the microbiome lately, but there's a lot of stuff saying like they usually have a lot of gut dysbiosis and stuff, and that might be the cause for a lot of their issues. So, just a thought, June. Can low lithium doses replace antidepressants? Ooh, get me on hot takes now. Um, I believe so. I've seen people, I've worked with people that were on antidepressants and that aren't on them anymore from taking lithium. I think low lithium dose, I think that needs to be qualified. What is a low lithium dose? If they're going to give, schizophrenics and bipolar um, patients 100 milligrams or something, then we can say that's probably the high dose because that's they're using pharmaceutically to get an effect. But if you half that and say, well, maybe 50 and less is lower dose, significantly lower. In my experience, somewhere between 25 milligrams, 20 milligrams for really, you know, reasons to be on antidepressants seems to help. Doesn't seem to be the whole thing for some people, but we've had people that depended on, say, St. John's wort in the past and used that at high doses and were struggling with mental health still when we got them down off the St. John's wort and then gave them a decent amount of lithium. They no longer needed it. So I've got a couple cases in mind about that. So yeah, it certainly can. I would just be mindful about monitoring lithium levels in the body. Some people are like lithium sinks. When what I mean by that, and maybe this is an advanced HTMA kind of topic, but the old literature used to suggest taking 2,000 micrograms of lithium would improve your lithium status to about zero point 0.2 milligrams, what we see on an ARL tests, for example. And that could be done by taking, I think it was about the equivalent of lithium 2 milligrams every day or every other day or something. And they were doing that for about 6 months and they would all have really good lithium levels, majoritively. And they did this in the 80s and they did it in multiple different countries. So, it wasn't just one population. Anyway, I tried to replicate it by using that low dose and to see how it would affect for myself. And I've worked with lithium along with others as well. We don't find that it's doing the same for everyone. So in the literature, 6 months your level will be up, bada bing, bada boom, easy. In real life, it seems like some people can take like 10 milligrams of lithium, and their lithium level might not even move for 6 to 9 months. And then it'll start to go up. So what I say is like a lithium sink. It's kind of like you're giving some, but the body's using it and it's not ending up back into the hair. So there's no like elimination of this lithium. And so some people can take a little bit of lithium and their hair test will jump up. other people can take a whole bunch and it won't move for a little while, then all of a sudden it'll start moving. And I think there's, a good reason to test your lithium levels if you're going to be taking higher dose, especially trying to get around antidepressants. Maybe one more question and I gotta head off. I got another consult. Um, so uh, maybe we can do one more and I'll head off. Oh, well, I tried lactoferrin for restless leg syndrome, but it actually made it worse. Probably mobilized some metals. My biggest, honestly, just another thought on that. The biggest thing when you're looking at iron deficiencies, you have to be careful that if iron deficiency is a side effect of high lead, and very often that is a situation that people are dealing with. So when they do take iron, they may be lowering lead but increasing symptoms because they might not have understood why the iron was low. So I'm just always try to be careful with iron personally. But yeah, maybe that's why I need a favorite biohacking tool. I talked about this last time, and this will end this in the last, just the last thing for today. Favorite biohacking tool for me right now, it's the Whoop. I use my Whoop wearable. I wear it every day. Gives me a lot of insight with sleep and how I'm recovering, and if I need to push myself more, or if I'm maybe already pushed myself too much, and maybe I'm just being hard on myself. Uh, as someone that has a hard time, you know, what I say, I live a little bit away from my body sometimes, and we talk about this in our course, Mr. McDuffie, James Joyce novel. Um, yeah, I have a tendency to do that. I live with ideas on the other side of the room, and so using a tool for me to help me tune back into my body and get some feedback and that is objective, I find really helpful. It's very easy to come at something and think that you're pushing hard or something, and you're not really. So some sort of objective way. Biohacking tool, the Whoop right now is like my favorite. Red light, yeah, I love red light. Obviously, red light. I don't use PEMF. I had an opportunity to use it when I had a spinal injury, but we never actually went through with it. But the guy that offered to do it for me, you guys might have seen some of his stuff on the internet lately. His name's Daryl Wolf, and he's a bit of a he's into natural medicine and he's pretty vocal about his beliefs. He's a pretty cool guy. He tried to stick his neck out and help me a bit when I was younger. And I gotta go back and see him because, yeah, he did me a solid, gave me some hope. But he was really into PEMF, and I have seen people use it with some pain that say that it improves. But personally, I'm very cautious myself with magnetic frequencies because of the metals that people may have in their bodies. I'm not sure, so it's just safe rather than any other reason. And then for sauna, like, yeah, I love sauna, but I'm not really the biggest fan of the red lamp therapy saunas anymore. Haven't found them to work as well as what Dr. Wilson may say, but we do use. I've been a big fan of clear light sauna for a while now, and we still use red light therapy, but we just find that the red light sauna just didn't seem to hit as hard as the infrared panels. Honestly, they just seem to get hot, and penetrate pretty deep into the tissues. All right. So I'm gonna call it a day. Nice seeing everybody. Joking, I didn't see you. To people that want to watch this, too bad it's gonna get copyrighted or something. I got this big warning, so maybe I can appeal it and someone will see it. But bless you guys. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the future.